Are you ready to take on the ultimate knitting challenge? Turn your sweaters into cardigans with one simple tool. Let's get started. You'll need some waste yarn in a similar color. Now, this is not the exact same yarn because you want to use a yarn that is 1 to 2 weights smaller than what you are steeking. So this sweater is knit in DK weight yarn, and I'm going to be using fingering weight for my steek prep. This is because when you try to use the same weight yarn, it creates a very bulky center that makes it much more difficult to cut. It's more difficult to hide once you're done. So let's get started with a lighter weight yarn. I've turned the sweater so it's at a 90-degree angle. This just makes it a little bit easier to work this crocheted steek prep. But first I need to determine where we're going to be working it. So I have 2 stitches on either side that are a part of the 2x2 ribbing. And then I have 6 stitches in the center for my steeking column. Now the actual steeking will happen in the middle between the stitches. You'll be cutting this row of ladders right here. But this means that the stitches on either side of the steek column need to be prepared so that they are caught and secured so that when you do cut, your stitches aren't going to start to unravel and go everywhere. My favorite way, after some experimenting, is with the crocheted preparation. So you take your spare yarn, your waste yarn, and you create a slip knot. And you place this slip knot on your crochet hook. You will then identify your column that you will be working, which is 2 stitches here, and then 1, 2, 3, gets me halfway to the center. And you will go in using your crochet hook. This is why I like this hook, because it's got a nice pointy head, which makes it really easy to get into those stitches. And you will go under both legs of that knit stitch. So you see 1, 2 legs, so you get the full V of the knit stitch. And you will hook the yarn around that hook. And if you turn it, it slides through and under a little bit easier. And then you will also slide it through the loop on your crochet hook. This creates what's called a chain. And we're going to continue to make these on every single stitch all the way down to the bind off edge. And then you will also go all the way back up the other side in a separate line. These will not be connected. So you've gone under your 2 legs here. You pull the loop through and then through the loop on your hook. You will also want a hook that is a little bit smaller than the needle that you used for your project. That's the ideal combination. Smaller yarn, smaller hook. This helps keep it nice and slim, which makes a difference when you are trying to, get it to set back and flat after you've steeked. So you go through under both legs. So if you can see, I'm kind of twisting the hook. That makes it a little bit easier to get it through. So you kind of twist to work it under, and then you twist down to get it through those first loops, and then you go back the other way so that the tip of this hook is facing the bottom of the stitch, this little V. That's the easiest way to get it through. And you just keep going so that you are getting every single stitch. one really important thing that you want to make sure that you're doing, and this is a good place to stop and check before you get too far, make sure that this chain that you're seeing that mimics these knit stitches here, see, make sure that that is facing away from your steeking column. If it is facing toward it, you're going to have a really hard time cutting. But when it faces away, what you have here on the inside of the steeking column are these little bumps from the back side of that chain. And this helps pull everything together and away and keep you real nice and secure. So now I'm just going to keep. Okay, so I've just snipped my second line, and as you can see, I have a chain here and a chain on this side, which really pops out these 2 rows on either side of that center. And when you pull them apart, make sure I get a white background here so you can really see them. You can see that very clear line of letters down the center, and that's where you're going to cut. But don't get out your scissors just yet. There's another step you should do before making your steek, and that is picking up for your button band. You want to pick up for your button band before you start cutting, because this puts less stress on your band. When you go ahead and knit your button band, you've done all that stretching, all of that pulling, all of that turning and everything else before the cut is made, so that then there's much less stress on these stitches to hold. All you have to do is give it a few minutes before you whip it to the side and sew it in place, and then there's very little stress on that ever. So you can pick up one of 2 ways. You can just go straight with your needle using your main color, and you're looking for that line. So I have 2 stitches here, flip it so you can see, 1, 2 for my collar, and then you have 2 stitches before that 3rd stitch, which has already been captured. So you can just dip in with your needle and pull it through. But as you can see, trying to pull it through, it can be easy to lose. So your other option, other than just kind of dipping in like you typically would, is using that crochet hook again. Now pretty soon you're going to find that tensioning it from the top no longer works. You're getting some really weird twisting action going on and all of that. So you need to slide your hand in from the bottom, and you will tension it from the inside as if you're knitting continental. Or you can even just pinch it. Tensioning it normally is not the biggest concern right now. It's just trying to get that around the loop so that you can pull it through and over. The main thing is you want to make sure that you're getting that left leg of the loop on over the front and the right leg on over the back. And you just dip in and work it between the letters. Picking up this way, I'm not gonna lie, it's not super easy, but it makes this so much more secure that you'll be happy you took the extra time. So I'm working on the button band, and I am knitting my way up to one of my buttonholes, which I have marked here with a stitch marker. So to knit the buttonhole, or to work row one of the buttonhole, I will knit the first 2 stitches on the buttonhole, slip the first stitch over the second, knit the next stitch, slip it over the second, and work the 3rd stitch and slip that over. So I've bound off 3 stitches here to create my buttonhole. You'll want to have your buttons on hand already to determine how many stitches you want to work. As you can see, it is bound off not over the stitches that you're sliding, but over the one before. So this last stitch that I've just slipped over, that is not the bound off stitch, it is the 3 before that. I'll work my last 3 stitches, and then I can show you how to cast on. There are several different cast on methods for mid-row cast-ons. I like using the cable cast on as it is the most secure, but you can also do the backwards E-loop or the knitted cast on. There are a whole bunch of options for you to do. We'll knit up to the bind off area, and then I go between the 2 stitches on the left hand needle, pull it up, twisted it and around so that that leg is in the back. You want to make sure that you're leaving enough. I don't tighten it until my needle is already in. Otherwise you can get it too tight that you cannot get your needle in. So I've cast on 1, 2, 3, and I like to make it super secure to cast on 1 additional stitch and then slide that over the top as if to bind off and tighten a bit. And I find that that just creates a really secure bind off. That is also why I've centered my bind off so that both of these legs that are just hanging over the side end up in the purl section on the right side, and you don't have to do anything about it. Just a quick tip on weaving in ends on ribbing. My favorite way to do it is get yourself over to a line of knit stitches, and then you go from the inside of the knit stitch to the outside. And you just keep doing this down the line, inside to outside, inside to outside, inside to outside, inside to outside. You want to keep doing this for about 8 stitches or so. And this is great for any kind of ribbing. And for us in particular, with this button band, at the very end, you're going to want to cut through onto the other side here, and then you just pull through. This method is called the barber pole method because look at that, you can't even see it. And then here on the inside, you'll just catch it on maybe 1 stitch to keep it going downward, and that will be hidden behind this in just a few minutes. Don't forget the importance of a good button. These buttons are great. They've got nice wide holes, but it's not quite wide enough for a needle to fit through. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your thin yarn, fingering weight is great, cut off a portion of it, and my favorite way is a little bit of spit. That really gets it to get a smaller point there. So you just pull it through the hole, go down the other side, pull it through the hole, and then get it centered on your string. After you've done this, find where you're going to attach it. For me, that's 6 ribs down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for uniformity, I'm going for 4 stitches up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then hold that right there, go from underneath with my little stitch fixing tool, pop in between and catch that top string, pull it through. Got to provide a little tension on that string to get it through all the way. And then I will do the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's the right spot. Then I will pull it through. And you don't have to pull it all the way tight yet. I like to loop it twice just to give that a little bit extra strength. So I'm going to go from the top this time to pull it up. And then it's a little bit trickier this time to get it through with some yarn already there. If you have like a really, really fine crochet hook, this is a nice time to get that out. Pop it in and catch it, but I mean, it's so fine that it's hard to catch the yarn a little bit. But it is handy to have in your arsenal. And then I'm going to pull my stitch fixing tool back out because it's much easier to catch the yarn this way. And then I give both ends a really nice firm tug, and that gives you a really secure hold for your button. So I'm going to knot it in the back, and then I will also weave in the ends to give it a fully secure button hold there. And voila, here is the big moment, the one we have been waiting for. It is time to steek. Our button band is knit, our steek is prepped, and we are ready to go. I always put a towel underneath where I am steeking just so I don't accidentally catch and cut any of those back stitches. I've got some very, very sharp scissors to make it a little bit easier. And here we go. Okay, so you got to kind of pull it apart as you go so that you can see those ladders and easily snip. Now I just do 1 or 2 at a time, making sure you're not catching any of the back end of your crochet. And as you can see, it's cutting nice and smooth, and those ends are getting caught by the back of your crocheted chain. I just keep going real slow, 1 or 2 at a time. It's better to take a little extra time and be precise than to cut something vital. I'm taking care to pull as little as possible to not create any stress on this steeked edge. Look how nice and neat that is. The last step before you're ready to wear is securing this steeked edge to your sweater. Securing it just ensures that there's going to be less pulling, which ensures there will be less possibility of those edges slipping free and going anywhere. Now I like to use the ends from the steeked edge to secure this top here to the top so it lays very flat. So I'm just going to go in under that, and then for this very first one I'm going to secure it to the stitch underneath just so that it's fully hidden on the top side, right? And then I'm going to just whip stitch it to these purl bumps in the back. This side is not meant to be seen, so it doesn't have to be anything super special or super pretty. I'll do that for the top and the bottom. And then I'll secure it with a duplicate stitch or two on the back side, and then I will just let it hang on the inside because this is all about to be sealed up. And this is your third row of stitches from where you picked up this band. So for me, that is going to be right here in the center. It's a little bit easier this first bit because you can see those knit stitches nice and clear. So actually you do not want to do both legs of the knit stitch because then it will be visible in the front. I'm going to just catch one, and that's it. And pull it through so that you've left that few inch tail here. Then you're just going to start whip stitching it. You're going to catch the entire crocheted edge and go through so that you're catching both the crocheted stitch and the knit stitch that it is encompassing. And you just want to do this to start. I'm going to do it for every 3 or 4 stitches. And you do this both to prevent it from wiggling around places, but also to get it to lay flat. Now, once you've left this knit area, you're just going to be going through the purl bumps, and because you are working from top down, you want to make sure that you're going in a downward direction, just because that's going to give you a little bit smoother of a bump. Just gonna check and make sure. Okay, so I actually want to go one more in this direction to keep it in the third column, so that I'm attaching the third column of stitches to the third column of stitches. It's just nice to check that every once in a while so that you're not going to get any bunching or bubbling. Keep one to go for that second row. And as you can see, it's definitely not a stitch per stitch kind of thing. It's not a super precise every 4th, but it's just a nice way to keep it all very neat and friction free. See, now that one, because it's bubbling a little bit, was probably too far. So I'm actually going to go ahead and rip that out. As you can see, you can't even see it from the front here, but it's nice and flat. And on that top edge, it's invisible from the front. So I'm just going to keep going. With just a few well-selected tools, we have been able to turn this beautiful yoke into a stunning cardigan. For more tools and tutorials, visit threadandmaple.com.